Hi guys, I'm Paladins guys, or Creeves, and I'm going to be getting into the 4th guide on this channel. I would like to say before we start that it has actually been a while since the last guide. I'm really sorry, I've had loads of busy stuff at school, but you know, fortunately school is finishing up soon and I've got a ton of guides to make. I've got a ton of other ideas for the channel, which you will see probably this week actually, and I can't wait to get into this Evie guide. I have been holding this one off for a while, mainly just because I've been struggling just to, you know, find the time to get good clips. If I do have a good game, I don't record it, you know, all that kind of stuff. But without much further ado, let's hop straight into the guide. Now, first of all, Evie. Arguably the biggest pest of the realm. Recently, I've been playing a ton of Evie, and although I'm not a pro by any means, there are still a lot of tips I have for those of you looking to learn her. As I say, the main thing I think I suffer from is actually hitting those shots after a blink and consistently getting those 850 damage shots. But I've recently got the Winter Witch to level 30 and will continue to grind my way to victory. First of all, let's talk about her abilities. The Ice Staff. Of course, this is a staff that shoots AoE projectiles dealing 850 damage on a direct hit. This weapon has a very slow firing speed of 1 shot per second and a very slow projectile speed compared to most other weapons. Of course, this naturally makes it quite hard to aim and quite punishing if you do miss a shot. This is part of the reason Evie has such a high skill ceiling. The weapon has a clip of 6 and will charge at 6% ultimate charge per hit, and a reload time of 1 second. If used correctly, the Ice Staff can pack some pretty nifty damage. In fact, it's essentially a default Drogos, not Fusillade of course, firing at a slightly slower speed and with a slower projectile. It is most effective at close ranges due to the inaccuracy of an incredibly slow projectile. However, with good pre-aim, it can be used at long ranges due to its lack of damage fall off. The blast-like nature of it means that it isn't as punishing when you miss a shot, and unless you have got a BK or Drogos, you won't be losing damage due to the enemy team purchasing Haven. If you play Drogos, then it will definitely give you an advantage with the Ice Staff and learning Evie in particular, as they are very similar in nature, and vice versa, for all of you Evies that are still watching this guide. Thank you. A quick thing to note is that Ice Staff does no longer suffer from aerial inaccuracy. That was actually changed in OB68, I think, so there's no reticle bloom, so if you're in the air, it won't affect your accuracy. Next up, let's talk about the Ice Block. Now, this is quite a nifty cooldown, or quite a long cooldown should I say, of 14 seconds. But here comes the fun part. Evie's list of abilities allowing her to slip away from the toughest of situations. Ice Block clearly makes Evie immune for 3 seconds. However, she cannot move or attack in this time. The Ice Block can be cancelled by activating the ability again, and it will also clear all status effects such as slows, cripples. There is a lot you can do with the Ice Block ability, but more often than not, you'll not want to stay in it for its full duration. This will likely end up on you being killed, since people know the times of an Ice Block, etc. But there's a load more on Ice Block and when to best use it in the hints and tips section later on. Okay, onto the blink. Now, with an incredibly short cooldown of only 3 seconds with Wormhole, this is Evie's bread and butter, especially for my playstyle. Paired with the Wormhole talent, this is really what makes her strong. And in this guide, I'm going to be treating Evie as if Wormhole is just default, because in my eyes, none of the other talents make her as viable. More on that in the talent section though. There are a couple of ways I like to use blink, so here's them. When going after a single target, such as the enemy's support or a pesky damage, you can use blink to evade the enemy front lines and get easy hits on them. When trying to secure a kill, it's a good idea to blink, shoot, then soar for 1 second, and then you can shoot again. This will allow for some hefty damage, and can often finish off a target. Also, when you're going after a target, just spam those shots. It's quite easy to reload, so I like to just, you know, shoot down a kind of like nice little clutch while my blink isn't up. Okay, otherwise, Evie absolutely excels in just poking out the enemy team. Choose a nice spot where you can blink from. Often regularly change this, of course, so they don't, you know, catch on to you and a BK doesn't come along sticking a load of stickies on it. But often you can blink over an object or from behind pillars, and this method is great for sometimes getting a pick on someone who's low or just causing a calamity and distracting the enemy team from your allies. Next up, we have Soar. This is basically Evie's highly maneuverable fly for 2 seconds. You're mainly going to want to use Soar to 1. Finish it, get an extra shot to finish a target, 2. to reposition for a better blink spot, or 3. to escape a dire situation. When using Soar to escape, I would recommend sporadically moving your mouse in your general direction of motion. You should have seen it in the background footage already, but this makes hitting you 10 times harder, even for hit scans. I would really recommend also using the switch card at level 3, or at a level no higher than 3, shall we say, just to allow for that extra mobility and allowing you to escape. Next up, we have Evie's ultimate, Ice Storm. It can be seen as a much more skillful Drogo's ult. I like to use it generally to pick a support or a flank who relies on mobility, such as Maeve or Evie herself, or even, dire scenarios where there's that, Drogo's or BK or Leanne just rocking your team, then sometimes it can be good to pick a damage too. It's not great against front lines due to their CC reduction and immunity cards, but generally I like to shoot, ult, then blink back, then go in for another blink or long range shot to finish them. However, you do have to remember that unlike a Drogo's ult, for example, where they're just dead straight away, that the enemies can still fight back during the ultimate, so it's definitely best used on a support or someone with low DPS. Either way. Next up, let's get on to the talents. Well, for this section, I really can't lie. There's no way of going back from Wormhole to any other legendary. The others are just too weak. For her to be viable in a useful manner, Wormhole really is needed. Of course, there are some who can still play with the other talents and do extremely well, but I feel ultimately doing so puts you at a bit of a disadvantage. The whole reason I can see people wanting to pick another talent is that they haven't unlocked Wormhole, or they just want to be more unpredictable. So, in this section, I'll only be covering Wormhole. I have got some loadouts for some of the other talents down in the loadout section, but let's talk about Wormhole a little bit. Most of it can be found in the blink section, but not only does it give you that much needed blink back, but it also reduces the cooldown, making her the ultimate annoyance. So, the next section I am going to be talking about is itemization. Now, this section is mainly just to show you some good items that I like to buy on Evie. Obviously, all of these are subjective and can change depending on the situation or your personal preference. Generally, what I like to buy first is Cauterize. I recommend buying it up to 3 in most situations, depending on your team of course. A blue item can also be helpful if Core is not needed, just analyse which one will be best for your situation. Healing or utility comes after. After thinking about the other items, you can pick up these. I really like Kill to Heal, especially when my support is lacking, as it allows you to get those top plays and can save you many a time throughout a game. Rejuvenate is always an idea if you have a Genos who is healing you a lot, just for that extra edge in 1v1s. For utility, well, if the game is lasting long enough to go for a yellow of your choice, to be honest. Master Raiding is pretty useful on some maps, just to getting behind those flank routes, or maybe even something like Morale Boost to pick off a pesky support a lot. Well, for loadouts, I have 2 here. The only real loadout I use for Evie is the Blink/Wormhole Evie. It's a very popular Blink orientated one, and for me this gives the perfect balance of cards. Things like the extra ammo from Ice Block can be extremely useful to finish off fights, more on that in hints and tips. The Swift Witch card also allows you to perform aerial dodges, and of course the fundamental Teleport and Flicker cards act as a direct buff to Evie's Blink, making her the effective pest she is. Otherwise, I have the Soar/Over the Moon card. This loader is excellent for being as spammy as possible, but go ahead and you go and try it out for yourself. I haven't really played with it more than once or twice. And remember, you can import all of these loadouts from me on Paladins. My username is Creeves. Next up, we're going to be talking about the hints and tips section. Now, as I mentioned in the Ice Block section, there are some really important tips for using Ice Block. The main tip is to never stay in Ice Block for its full duration. You need to be really smart with it. Attacking. When in a fight, normally a 1v1, you can use Ice Block in a number of ways to give you the edge. For example, say a slow projectile such as a Zin Heavy Swing. You know how bad it is these days with Zin's damage, even after the nerf in this patch. Whew, it is a pain. And that's heading straight for you. Simply Ice Block to avoid the damage. You can also use Ice Block paired with the Biting a Cold card to get that much needed last shot when you are out of ammo. Defending. If you're caught in an extremely bad situation, for example when you're caught with no abilities, I recommend ice blocking up, wait for a blink spot or source to pop back up, and make the escape, blinking then soaring. If people camp your ice block, more often than not you'll die. You know how people are, they hate you, Evie. This is why you should come out of the ice block slightly sooner than when it ends. This could throw the enemy off and give you the opportunity to escape unscathed. You can also look out for enemy reloads or distractions from teammates. As for maps with lots of aerial space are ideal. Some maps Evie excels on are Timbermill, Splitstone and Jaguar/Serpent Beach. Also, I guess a self-explanatory tip: don't shoot yourself, it will damage you. And fun fact, please don't try this in game. You can actually achieve quicker fire rate by purchasing deft hands 2 to 3 and reloading after each shot. Not that it would be very practical since you'd be blinking around and the like, but just thought that was funny and I'd throw it in there. As for ranked, now of course this is the final section, most of the stuff for the guide has been covered before, but I'd say generally Evie is a solid pick. If there's a good player behind the wheel, they can pull out some big stunts and fulfill the flank role easily, or in extreme cases totally carry. She's not normally banned unless someone really has a grudge, so it's quite easy to pick her up. Just remember to know who you were targeting and hit those shots. It's also important to remember you can pretty much pick her on any maps since she has all kinds of movement. One thing important is to make sure to see what the enemy team has. Generally, it's not a good idea to pick Evie when you're looking at flanking someone such as a Drogo, since it's really hard to hit those mid-air shots on him, a Maeve, or someone who's going to be off the ground a lot and not, someone that's got a lot of mobility and not going to be stationary. Overall, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching this guide, and remember, if you have any other champions you'd like to see, I'll by all means learn them and try and make that guide for you. But either way, go down in the description and click the guides playlist for more. You can also read the guides and get a written copy on the Steam guide section of Paladins. If you do play on Steam, just do Shift Tab and you'll see it in the corner, it will say guides, and you'll be able to find it hopefully. But either way, thank you so much. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. Really cool videos coming soon too, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.